Go back to sleep, Cindy.
Jan, don't. Marcy's hair is so beautiful.
Exactly. That's why I'm going to get a lot of money when I sell it.
Jan, what are you doing? Oh, Marcia, I love your hair.
Ooh, what a groovy hairdo.
Oh, you're so beautiful.
No! She's supposed to look bad! No! No!
Welcome to Amusing Jews, where we celebrate Jewish contributors and contributions to American popular culture. I'm Jonathan Friedmann.
And I'm Joey Angelfield.
Producer-engineer Mike Tomren is working somewhere behind the scenes. Amusing Jews is a project of Adat Chaverim, Congregation for Humanistic Judaism, the Cool Shul Jewish Cultural Community, and Atheists United Studios. Hey, Joey. I was reading an article at Slate.com explaining why The Golden Girls was sitcom genius. It makes the point that The Golden Girls boasted characters who were sharp in their humor and secure in their freedoms. Of course, the show's success owes largely to the amazing women who played the Golden Quartet. Estelle Getty as Sophia, Bea Arthur as Dorothy, Rue McClanahan as Blanche, and Betty White as Rose. But great ensembles can only do so much. They need great material to work with. That's where the writers come in.
We're excited to talk with Stan Zimmerman, a writer, producer, and director best known for his writing on The Golden Girls, Roseanne, and The Gilmore Girls. Stan wrote for both Brady Bunch movies, co-created the Lifetime sitcom Rita Rocks, and has written and directed a variety of theater productions. He also has a new memoir, The Girls, From Golden to Gilmore. Stan, welcome to Amusing Jews.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
So you've kept a journal over the years chronicling your ups and downs in the screenwriting business. You share some of these entries in your memoir, where you describe the process of keeping a journal as therapy. How so?
Well, that started actually at NYU. I had a modern dance teacher, and why a modern dance teacher needed to have journals from us, I don't know. But my junior year, she asked us all to keep journals, and we did, and we handed them in, and then she lost them. So somewhere in New York City are all these wonderful tales of me as a very young gay Jew running around New York going to Studio 54. But then we did it the next year, and she did give them back. And then also I got very close with this friend, Randy Lehman, in New York at NYU, and we were best friends. And so the first summer we were separated, we did keep journals for each other, and we traded them. And so we still have each other's journals, which would make a very exciting play or book sometime, that whole relationship, and she's still one of my best friends. But then when I moved out to LA, it just got me in the habit of keeping a journal, and I'm really glad I did. I kept journals during all those TV shows. I don't know where I found time, but it was a good release for me to talk about my fears and things I was going through and triumphs even. So when I sat down to write the book, I thought, okay, if I take all those journal entries from all the different shows with women that I've written on, maybe that's half a book. Or it made it less scary to start writing a book because I've never written a book before. I usually only write with a writing partner. I have written a play by myself. But this was scary to do. So having those journal entries was a good first step in culling that, and then from there building on it. And I also like the idea of seeing how I felt then as such a young person to hopefully an older, wiser Jew.
In some sense, was writing alongside the journals sort of like having a partner?
I hadn't thought about that. A younger partner, that's for sure. A very naive partner, but, looking back at it, a very strong partner. And I didn't even realize that much of it until people started reading it just in rough drafts. And God, you just kept going like an Energizer bunny. How did you do that? So many times being knocked down or said no to, and it just kept going and finding ways to reinvent myself. And then also the part about how did you go to a job like Golden Girls and be so open when we were told to be so closed about being gay on the show, which people find that hard to believe on a series that is known for being so progressive. And I've only started to really think about why and how I was able to do that. And I think it's because from such a young age, I was told being gay was bad, that you learn to cover it up and survive it. So by the time I got into my early 20s, I had it down. Like, I knew what to do. I knew how to deflect. You know, I mean, how many times did my grandmother say, "So you dating anybody?" You know, so you have those jokes. You know, I'm very busy, and no girls out there in Hollywood.
You forged a special bond with Estelle Getty while you were working on The Golden Girls. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I had seen her in her Broadway triumph, which started off-Broadway in Torch Song Trilogy. And I happened to be just back in New York writing one of our many spec scripts that nobody was buying. And my writing partner, Jim Berg, said, "Oh, this new off-Broadway show just moved to Broadway and everybody's talking about it. Got us great seats." And, you know, Estelle comes on in the last piece of the trilogy, and just seeing her and Harvey and the height difference, and she was just, I'd never seen anybody like her in that character, really. And just loved her, not knowing, you know, like a year and a half, 2 years later, I would be writing for her. But right away, she took a liking to me and Jim. I think it's, she knew, and she told us, she knew we were gay, even though we were quiet about it on set. But she said she would keep our secret. And, you know, she was a big ally of the LGBTQ plus community from the very beginning, just doing, you know, off-Broadway theater for all those years, and then getting into, you know, what has now become a classic play of Torch Song Trilogy, and being one of the first few known actors to really raise money for AIDS back then. That was a big deal, and a lot of people didn't do it. But she was one of those people. She would finish rehearsing all day or filming, and she would get all dolled up and go out and raise money at some benefit. And back then, it was mostly women actors that would do those. Most men were afraid to be associated with that whole cause of AIDS. Cool lady, but she was also loved being everybody's Jewish mother. And I just remember just talking to her on the phone a lot. You know, she would not be shy about giving her opinion, or who you dating, or what job you up for, and she would tell you what she thought of all of that.
Enjoying the show? Click like and subscribe. The Golden Girls episode, Adult Education, which you co-wrote with Jim Berg, is among the show's many socially relevant stories. The episode has Blanche taking a psychology course. After she fails the midterm, the professor offers her an A if she sleeps with him.
The tuck of what happened to me was really quite simple. I'm not doing very well in Professor Cooper's class, so he offered to give me an A if I would...
Do number 5?
Actually, number 5, 6, and 7B.
Blanche is a sexually ambitious character, but she has limits and her dignity. Why was that episode important to write, both for Blanche's character and for the broader culture?
Well, since I have neither of those qualities, no. It came about because something Rue McClanahan said to us early on. She came up to us on set, me and Jim, and we're like, "Oh my God, one of the actors is coming over. What do we do? Just smile." And she said, "Really?" And remember, this is season 1. We're just getting the show started. And she said, "Really challenge my character. Give me like stuff to do." She, you know, was a real actor. She did plays for years and years and years. I didn't find out till much recently that we went to the same summer theater in New Hampshire. I was there as a little student, and she went much, much earlier, but she had done plays at the same place. I wish I had been able to talk to her about that. So Jim and I went back to her office, and we thought about it, because we're always having to pitch new episode ideas. And we thought, well, Blanche is known for just easily having sex, you know. I can say that, right? Who's the slut? That's one of the famous lines. What situation could we put her in where the easy answer would be just to have sex with him? But she couldn't. Something was stopping her. And that's what made us think of that episode. And we have taken that to every single job we've ever had since then. We think of what the character, who they are, their strong base, and challenge that. Throw them something that's going to really push them. And that's what's interesting about doing shows. We did that on Roseanne, that same idea. What was she thinks at the time, she was very liberal. Things happen, your brain goes one way and Ambien the other way. And what would happen if she got kissed by a woman and thought she was like the coolest person in the world, and how that ripple effect within her family and herself and all of that. And we did that a lot on our own shows with Rita Rocks. When we finally got our own show, we did that. And everything we write, basically. So thank you, Rue McClanahan.
It's kind of cool that the actress, Rue McClanahan, asked for it. I wonder if
yes, but we took that. So when someone says something, I often say when I teach writing or acting, what's the note behind the note? So to me, we took, challenge, but like really get to the core of humans, and a lot of sitcoms, they just are really light stories. But I like that what Golden Girls did, and Roseanne as well, but they said, don't do it as a special episode of like the facts of life. Make it really real to those characters and what they're going through. So that show dealt with dementia and suicide and, dating a younger man. We wrote an episode about always being funny. Don't lose the funny, but dealing with it in a realistic way. And that's the style of writing we like, because I grew up on Norman Lear. So it's in that model, Golden Girls was, and definitely Roseanne was. But most shows were not. At that time, it was Three's Company and all of Gary Marshall's shows. And I love Gary Marshall, but those are very different in tone to the shows that I've been lucky to work on.
So getting back to that famous Roseanne episode, Don't Ask, Don't Tell, again with James Berg, in it, Roseanne visits a gay bar and experiences a lesbian kiss. This was very controversial at the time, 1994. And the episode almost wasn't aired. Could you take us through some of that controversy?
I didn't think this would become like a news item. On the 11 o'clock news, I'd come home from work and there they would be talking about our little sitcom.
Tonight, a controversial kiss aired during the Roseanne show on Channel 7. It began with Roseanne's visit to a gay bar, and this moment in time shared with actress Mariel Hemingway. Tonight, Channel 7's Charles Thomas has reaction to this network television first.
But ABC said, we are not letting you write that, but we're not going to let you film it, and then we're not going to air it. And to the credit of Roseanne and her husband at the time, Tom Arnold, they were adamant, and they said, if you do not air this, we will buy it back from you, we will buy time on HBO, and we will play the episode. So they played hardball, God love them, and ABC put it on, and the next day the sun came out. Oh my God, the world did not end. There were gay people on TV. And it was a huge rating success, and we raised money for GLAAD at a big benefit, and I feel it was part of the evolution of leading up to Ellen coming out and Will and Grace and, all the wonderful shows we're starting to have now.
Yeah, it seems like with both Golden Girls and Roseanne, you were able to push the needle a little bit in terms of just diversity, sensitivity to issues, those sorts of things.
I think in comedy, it's a safer place. I think when people are laughing, you don't feel like you're getting up on your soapbox and you have to do it this way, or listen, you're laughing going, oh, and I've heard so many wonderful stories about, people in the LGBTQ plus community being able to watch Golden Girls with their grandmothers who are maybe more conservative. And there they were all laughing at these episodes, or laughing at the brilliant idea that Blanche was jealous because, she wasn't the one that the lesbian liked. She liked Rose. I just thought that was so smart. I just love that.
So on Roseanne wasn't easy to work for. She was particularly rough on her writers. Care to share any of these stories?
She was very mistrustful of them. Legendary, season 1, she fired the creator of the show, but it was based on her. And I feel like she felt she wasn't being listened to. And she blamed a lot of it on Carsey Werner, who were the producers, and they were not allowed on set. And even the network that's paying for the whole thing, we're not allowed down on the stage. Usually on a TV show, the network is down there and giving notes all the time. But she knew what she wanted, and she, it was her life, and it was very raw. And she wanted that sensibility within that show. She didn't want it to seem, all pretty and manufactured. And again, I tip my hat to her, because we just hadn't seen that kind of talk about middle America the way I was raised on television, and the struggles and I particularly liked the show because it was very, very funny, but then sometimes it wasn't funny. I went in 2015 to Moscow. Here's another little road, to help them develop a Russian Roseanne show. And over there, they just couldn't understand why it wasn't funnier. But that's kind of the style of the show. That 1 minute it's really, really funny, and then something tragic happens, and it's more serialized than most sitcoms.
She had the writers wear numbers, right?
There is that famous story, and I have that in the other room. So our year, there were 21 writers. Usually on shows, you'll have maybe 10 at the most. She would hire her stand-up comedy friends from the road or of Tom Arnold's. So a lot of those people, like Norm Macdonald and Laura Keitlinger, they were not writers. They were stand-up comedy friends, and they had them on staff as punch-up people, meaning they would come in with jokes. But because there were so many people, you couldn't all be in a room. They would break us into little groups. So Jim and I got in charge of the writers, the stand-up comics. And they were hysterical, but I was in the room with Norm Macdonald all the time, and he was brilliantly funny, but we had to teach them writing skills, that the jokes had to come from the characters, not just jokes that anybody could say. And a lot of those people went on to become, big sitcom writers, which I'm very proud of. But so she was known for firing people. So the first day of filming, Tom and Roseanne thought it would be funny if they gave out T-shirts with numbers. So they had all the writers line up, and there were boxes of T-shirts. And because my birthday is October 13th, I pushed my way into the writers to get number 13. I thought, oh, that'll be so funny. All the writers are mad. I didn't understand why they were mad. And then I heard why they were giving us the numbers, so that they wouldn't have to learn our names, and they could just point and say, number 13, you're fired. And then, once I got home and I thought about that, I'm like, that is really fucked up. So when you're working in that environment, when you're treated that way and you're not respected, and even though when we passed in season 1 of the show, and then it came back to us in season 5, and they told us, there's no patting on the back on the show, and we're like, oh, we don't need that, but I truly think you do. And, I've taken all the jobs we've had and sometimes learned what not to do. And I think I feel that you want to create the best environment, no matter what job you're doing. If you're the person at the top, your attitude trickles down. So always acknowledge every single person there, no matter what they're doing. And they might come to work wanting to work harder and have more fun. Isn't that what we all want to do? We don't want to go to work and be miserable.
So you note in the book that writing on both Brady Bunch movies was probably your favorite job ever. Why is that?
Because it took all parts of me. That I love pop culture. It got us a chance to push the envelope and be kind of edgy, but within the framework of pop culture and a studio movie. But being able to suggest the idea of casting someone like RuPaul in that part, in a Paramount film, that was unheard of back then.
Paranoid schizophrenia is very common amongst children of blended families. You are the middle child, aren't you?
Middle child? Don't you mean Marsha Brady's little sister? Wait a minute, she's just trying to help. Help? Wake up. She's just looking for an excuse to bring up Marsha. Marsha! Yes, I'm in the middle.
I loved the show growing up. So to be able to skew it in a way that was loving to the show, but also had an edge and made fun of the show a little bit too, in a positive way. And Betty Thomas, the director on the first one, was so loving, and to make her laugh, she would fall on the floor laughing at the stuff we would do, and she kept saying, go crazy. And we're like, okay. We got hired for 2 weeks to just kind of punch-up jokes, and they kept liking us. I mean, it was the worst deal on their part, but it was great for us because they had to keep doing it in 2-week chunks instead of just saying, here, come for 2 months and write whatever. So we kept staying on and on and on and on, and all through the filming of the movie. And we would go to set, and she'd throw us in some trailer and, like throw us food and just stay in there and come up with better lines.
Yeah, as a younger person seeing the movie, I appreciated how it kind of reintroduced kitsch into the culture in a really fun and enticing way.
But that's all like our sensibility. When we got the script, we were the 5th writers on it, which is why we were not credited on the first movie. There's some stupid, arcane Writers Guild rule. They're trying to protect the writers, but they didn't protect us. I lost a lot of money because our names were not on it. The fact that you have dog walkers and bartenders and not writers. So in old days in films, you'll see like additional dialogue somewhere in there. I think they should come back to something. If you worked on a movie, you should be acknowledged for the work that you do on it. So the fact that it's invisible and all those jokes of Shelley Long pouring sugar for an hour, that's all us doing that kind of crazy stuff. That wasn't in the script.
Maybe we'll help heal that a little bit, get you that credit you deserve.
There you go. I mean, my mother knew, but and people in the town, they definitely knew. I mean, we got so many jobs from that. We got offered, Gilligan's Island, the movie. The one I did want is Bewitched, the movie. That we worked really hard. They gave it to Nora Ephron and made that other movie. I thought it was a love story, and it was a love story of someone that was othered. She was a witch. She was an outcast. So I think it had a whole other layer that, and then we had crazy ideas. Like, I don't know if you know, on the Bewitched show, they switched Darrens in the middle of the series. Yeah, without telling anybody. It went from Dick York to Dick Sargent or the other way around. So we were going to cast Dylan McDermott and switch to Dermot Mulrooney, and not say anything. Just, wait, what happened? Like little things like that. When I would go over like all the kids says, but the parents would be like, oh my God. Which we were able to do on the Brady Bunch.
We've talked on this show before about how a Jewish sensibility permeates American comedy. Is there also a gay sensibility that comes through if we know what we're looking for?
You tell me. I think so. Yes, some may call it an agenda on the right. Of course there is. You can't grow up, looking at the world the way I did and, with a special eye towards the Ernie Flatt dancers and Carol Burnett. That'll go over a lot of people's heads. But, wanting to be like a backup dancer on a variety show. To, writing for older women, or the Gilmore Girls. Yes, there is. It's funny because people just, assume that it was all gay writers on Golden Girls. But it was to us for a long time until Mark Cherry and Jamie Wooten came along. We were the only ones. There are times when you do push it, not an agenda, but you're telling stories that are more LGBTQ plus. Like the pilot we wrote for Logo, Silver Foxes, which was kind of a gay men's Golden Girls, that when Logo couldn't afford it, nobody wanted to make it. No network would even read the script. And because I can't let certain things go, we turned it into a play, and it had a sold-out world premiere last year in Dallas with Uptown Players, and the wonderful Michael Urie directed it. You know him from Ugly Betty and Shrinking, and that's one of the 4 published plays that I now have out in the world, and a theater in Ohio is doing it September 6th. I'm going in for opening night, so that's really cool. I hope one day it gets to New York and could be a movie, and then hopefully back to a TV series.
So as you alluded to, you've been directing a lot of theater lately, writing theater as well. I had the pleasure of seeing your production of Paul Rudnick's The New Century at the Bent Theater in Palm Springs recently. You started out on stage. What drew you back?
Thank you. It was also a very emotional piece too, which is why I've been wanting to direct it for many, many, many years. So when it came up of doing a play at the Bent, and I kind of threw it out there, and I thought it'd be really good for their company. I started acting when I was 7.5 and always loved it and went to NYU to be an actor. And then I was just too nervous at auditions. And luckily at the same time, I had met my writing partner, Jim Berg, and we started writing and just doors just started opening quickly for us in that world. And, ran through those doors and kind of put acting to the side. Theater came up again. I mean, I always went back to New York and just went to a lot of theater in LA as well and dreamed of going back to it. And then while I was doing Gilmore Girls, I got offered a reality show on Bravo. It was not a Real Housewife, but it was produced by Sean Hayes and called Situation Comedy, which was kind of like Project Greenlight. They were looking a contest show where they were looking for the next great sitcom, and I was the host showrunner. And through that, one of the producers, Tom Milliner's boyfriend, was running Celebration Theater. They asked me to direct a play, and here we are now on 30 plays in that I've directed, and I just love it. I love the intimacy of it. I love being just in a room, hearing laughter or tears even. It really was enjoying and do enjoy directing other people's words. I think there's something about, in a sitcom, you're always changing, you're always having to rewrite. I like that on a play, you can't rewrite it. It's been produced. So you have to make sense of what you have. Although I'm currently just directed a new play. And then a producer friend of mine, Larry Hirschhorn, yes, a Jew, a big New York theater producer, said, "You should write a play. You're a writer." I'm like, no. Well, half a martini later, I had an idea, and that started my playwriting career.
There's something really special about going to live theater. I would say gay theater in particular, just the camaraderie, the happening kind of vibe, the spirit, the energy, the emotions. You just can't get that anywhere else.
I just came back from New York and saw 2 LGBTQ-focused plays, a show called Bathhouse, about the history of bathhouse and cleaning and why we clean ourselves. It was fantastic and so political and smart and funny. And also this play, Old Mary, that's kind of the head of New York, with Cole Escola playing Mary Todd Lincoln. It is really funny. And so I love that and I went to and there was just a wide, diverse audience coming to see that. And so it doesn't have to be just you write for what you are or you only see plays that it's about. It should be for the whole community. And that's what I grew up. I mean, I grew up watching Sanford and Son and Flip Wilson and, somehow that spoke to me.
Thanks so much for joining us, Stan.
Thank you.
And to our audience, now back to your regularly scheduled lives.
Amusing Jews is here to amuse you. If you like being amused, go ahead and click like and subscribe.